Then in fantastic fashion with such an incredibly close battle in this championship. We have 3 races to come in the F4 UAE, and my goodness me, it's hard to predict who is going to be champion. We know going in, of course, that Keanu Al-Azari will be the championship leader, certainly ahead of race 1, but Freddie Slater is still going to try and take some points off him, and also Kian Nakamura and Rashid Al-Daheri, the men who are 3rd and 4th in the Drivers' Championship, are on the front row of the starting grid ahead of both men. Keanu Al-Azari goes P5 on the grid for this one. Freddie Slater can only start 13th, so this is definitely going to be a nail-biter as far as the championship aspirations are concerned. It will be very tough to see how it all continues, but it will be so close. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those championships that might not get decided until the last lap of the last race of the season. It is that kind of opportunity at the moment with so many great talents in this offing. I genuinely couldn't tell you at this moment who is going to be the F4 UAE champion. Look at that, 28 degrees Celsius. Absolutely astonishing how quickly the temperature has risen since qualifying this morning. It's the most intense heat that we have actually had all season over the course of the Formula Regional Middle East Championship and Formula 4 UAE Championship as well. So this is going to be a real tough moment for all of the drivers, and this is a very important race to get right here. There are 6 drivers mathematically who could win this championship. Keanu Al-Azari, Freddie Slater, Kian Nakamura, Rashid Al-Daheri, Alex Powell and Gabriel Stilp. At the end of this race, we could go down from 6 championship contenders to 4. It's going to be so difficult to make out who is going to be in the mix of it. But we certainly know one thing for sure. There's no champion going to be decided today. That will have to wait until tomorrow. It's going to be so close. So Kian Nakamura has one job from pole position: disappear into the distance, get back in this championship fight and level the scores with his closest opponents. Green flag flies and it's formation lap time. Let's go through the grid in full. Kian Nakamura, pole position. Rashid Al-Daheri, 2nd on the grid. Alex Powell, 3rd position. 4th is Jules Caranta, best of the rest and definitely hungry for his 1st overall podium. Keanu Al-Azari, 5th on the starting grid on home soil. Jack Beaton, the mega Australian, 6th on the grid. 7th place for Enzo Ye after his podium last time out. Dion Gauda, 8th position, and that is stationary Dion Gauda. He's not going anywhere. Now he needs to, because obviously from here he cannot afford the whole field to get past him, because if they do, then he's got to start this race from the back of the grid, but he may have to start it from the pit lane. So we'll keep an eye on that, but for the moment Dion Gauda in trouble. And the medical car appears to, the marshals are going out to him. I think he's going to have to start this race from the back of the grid. This is disastrous for Dion Gauda. He may have to start it from the pit lane. So behind him, it should be Deegan Fairclough in 9th position. 10th place for Lucas Somalisto. 11th is Zach Skula. And then 12th is Enzo Deligny, the Red Bull youngster. Freddie Slater is next up, 13th and battling for the title. 14th is Thomas Stolchamanis, the Latvian. Then Tiago Rodriguez alongside Gabriel Stilp. Then Alvis Rodella, 17th, along with Max Popov in 18th place. Matteo Quintarelli is next up in 19th. And then Xuyan Pu, the Chinese driver. Then it is Reza Suburban, who lines up 21st on the grid alongside Nicolas Stati. Davide Larini is 23rd on the grid along with Kamal Murad. And then we have Yavan David all the way down in 25th after a difficult qualifying session. Luca Shun, 26th on the grid. Then it is Sebastian Murray, Maximiliano Restrepo, Rafael Narak, Guy Darianani, Kari Schmeiner, Fu Yu Hao. And at the back of the grid, it is Everett Stack. So already some big problems coming into this one. Sebastian Murray, of course, has a 3 grid position penalty. He should have started 24th on the grid, but he's demoted to 27th. Now, there is an interesting sight you just saw there. The runoff area has actually been extended for this round of the championship after some of the near misses that we had in round 3. So at the exit of turn 2, you actually have to go all the way along to the very edge of the cones before rejoining, and that is on the way halfway round the outside radius of turn 2. So it's quite important that the drivers adhere to that. You'll see it a couple of times, no doubt, over the course of the race. But here we are on the Dubai Autodrome, a perfect location to end the season with these final 3 races. 1 today and 2 tomorrow. We won't get a champion until tomorrow, that is for sure. It's far too close between the top 6 drivers to settle it today. But we're certainly going to get one step closer to finding out who is going to be the F4 UAE champion in 2024. And it's definitely going to be very close indeed. So we're going to have to see just how close it can be. But what a astonishing situation we could have here. It's going to be a very, very close encounter for the title. And we are in a very tough situation for all of the contenders, knowing that this is going to be the hardest race of the year on tyre management. They're never going to have it harder in terms of the degradation than they've had up to this point. Tomorrow could be hotter still, so could get tougher tomorrow, but certainly up to this point, this is where the tyres could suddenly just disappear for the driver after about 3 or 4 laps. So this race could have several twists and turns in it, even after the first couple of laps. It then comes down to feel, it comes down to instinct, and whoever's got the best of it is going to come through at the far end of the dais. Kiya Nakamura-Berta is on the right of your screen in pole position. To the left is Rashid Al-Daheri. This is going to be a very tough race ahead of us. 28 minutes plus the additional lap, but goodness knows who's going to look after tyres best. This could be one of the least straightforward F4 races you're ever going to see. As Kiya Nakamura-Berta will get himself neatly into position. The green flag flies at the back of the grid. Lights come on, and for the first time out of 3, F4 UAE will conclude in 2024. Let's race to Dubai! It's a perfect start for Kiya Nakamura-Berta. No issues from pole position. Powell slots in behind Rashid Al-Daheri. Shulkaranta a little bit sluggish as Al-Azari and Beaton are going to time him on either side. And already Nakamura-Berta trying to kick up the dust as he goes to the first corner in front of Al-Daheri. There's a little bit of shuffling of the deck further back, but it looks like a clean start to me as Freddie Slater goes wheel to wheel with Enzo Deligny through turn 1. Al-Azari goes a little bit wide and as a result drops back behind Karanta, Beaton and Enzo Ye. And there's a spin further back. One of the pinnacles has gone around. I think that could be Fu Yuhao. So we'll have to double check it. No, it's Kai Daryanani, his teammate. So Daryanani is the one that's gone around. Very unfortunate indeed for the Indian driver, who recovers just in front of Dion Gowda, who now passes him as they start from the pits. Look how dusty it is around the circuit. The sand has properly been collected on the circuit in the gusts of wind, so it is really tricky for grip out there. Drivers already had problems in qualifying with grip, and now they've got even more. They go down the back straight. And you can see for yourself the heat haze is pretty high, but there's a lot of sand around, and oh dear, goodness me, a couple of drivers actually running right off the racetrack. Al-Azari desperately trying to hold on to at least P6 as Beaton goes hungry on the inside of Shulkaranta. Deegan Fairclough trying to move up a couple of places there as well, I saw. And side by side, that's Kamal Murad going wheel to wheel with his teammate Davide Larini. They work their way through on the opening lap then. And already battles galore as Keanu Al-Azari is going wheel to wheel with Deegan Fairclough, the British driver for Hi-Tech. Deegan trying to get back on terms, and in the middle of all that somewhere is the Mumbai Falcon of Freddie Slater. Couldn't quite make out where he was, but it's certainly very close indeed at this point, as everybody's just trying to mix it very evenly at the first part of the lap. Through they come to the hairpin one more time. Still Al-Azari going wheel to wheel with Fairclough. Can Fairclough hold that right round the outside? He can, and he's going to pop it to the inside of Al-Azari. So they're going to go side by side, and Al-Azari's held on to it. So he's been very forceful there in making sure that Fairclough can't find a way by. So Fairclough's now got to go slow in and fast out of the final turn and have another go. It's Nakamura-Berta, Al-Daheri, Powell, Beaton, Ye, Al-Azari, Fairclough, Karanta. Slater's up to 9th and Deligny in 10th position. And this is one of those races where Freddie Slater can't afford to finish 12th. He's got to go for it as Fairclough has a look at the inside of Al-Azari. Al-Azari's going to drift wide under pressure. Now you're going to see Al-Azari take to the runoff area, and he's got to do the complete extension of the runoff area and then come back in. So he has to lose places, and crucially, he drops behind Deligny, which means he's also behind Freddie Slater. So this is a proper championship battle now. Slater is 8th, Al-Azari is down to 10th. And out in front, Nakamura-Berta and Rashid Al-Daheri are loving life in 1st and 2nd. So really close quarters at the moment. Several drivers having to run wide. I think that's Gabriel Stilp just dropping it a little bit there in the far side of the course. Look, there's several lines of choice from the drivers here as they try their best to navigate the hairpin on the run to the back straight. But Nakamura-Berta still leads the way here in front of Rashid Al-Daheri, then Alex Powell, Jack Beaton, and Enzo Ye, who's made a terrific start from what was 7th on the grid. So now Rashid Al-Daheri's just got to follow in pursuit of Kiya Nakamura-Berta. Now those first few laps are obviously going to feel like a normal race to a certain extent, but by about lap 5, lap 6, the tyres are going to be absolutely screaming at the drivers. Because it's never been as hot as this, it's never been as humid as this. So this is absolutely danger zone point for the drivers on their tyres at this moment. A couple of drivers still running wide further back. but it's getting seriously choppy in that battle for the lower end of the positions. And as I was about to say earlier on, this is one of those races where Freddie Slater can't afford to go for a reverse grid pole. He's got to try and score as many points as humanly possible in the hope that that can actually help him in the championship. So do you sacrifice a reverse grid pole and drop out of the points in the hope that if you score a 7th or 8th place finish, that could be enough points to get you over the trickle of the finish line for the title fight? It is so difficult to know which tactic is going to be the best one. So through they come again. For some reason the timer is not going, but that's not going to change how it is in terms of the race. My timing screen is working perfectly fine, so that's the good thing. Slater up the inside of Deligny and Al-Azhari. Deligny's got nothing to lose, so he's going to go further along. Al-Azhari trying to come around the outside of Slater. The championship contenders, they nearly collide again after what happened between them at Yas Marina last time out. This has shades of Verstappen and Hamilton all over it between these two. Nakamura Berta still leads the way. Al-Daheri, Powell, Beaton and Yeh, and then a massive gap back to 6th position, and Deegan Fairclough in front of Deligny and Slater. So Anzo Deligny with nothing to lose, as wide side by side there, that was Stochamanis dueling away with Yvan David. Yvan David stormed his way forward. That's Matteo Quintarelli getting in the mix there as well. Yvan David has shot through this field once again, as Rashid Al-Daheri is trying to take on Nakamura Berta for the lead of the race. Now, that's what we need to really be focusing on. Powell in 3rd place on his own, then Beaton and Yeh. But who is now leading? Is it Al-Daheri? Has he managed to get through on Nakamura Berta? Not yet, but he's right there, and as a result of the challenge, Alex Powell has now got a shot. Through the right-hander, and you can see they're really wrestling for grip. The back end of the car is trying desperately to overtake the front amongst every driver in this field. They're having to wrestle with the wheel, because there's sand on the road and it's a much hotter circuit than usual, so there is a big reduction in grip. So this is not easy for anybody. This is not done. This is almost, not quite, but almost like driving in the wet, because when you've got sand on the road and it's a hot circuit, the tyres don't want to grip. Somebody's lost a bit of front wing there. Not entirely sure who that's come off of, but I'm sure we'll find out sooner or later. So let's see how the drivers deal with the situation now. 21 minutes and 40 seconds roughly left in the race. Not quite sure why the timing has frozen, but I'll keep you up to date with it as soon as we go through each part of the race. So Nakamura Berta, Al-Daheri and Powell, 1, 2 and 3 at the moment. Then Jack Beaton, then Enzo Yeh, Deegan Fairclough, Enzo Deligny, Freddie Slater, Keanu Al-Azhari, Gilles Caranta, Zach Scholar. Unfortunately, it's looking pretty destitute for Gabriel Stilp. He is down to 31st position, having come into the pits, so I think it's fair to say that we've just lost one of our championship contenders. Safety car is out, safety car on circuit. So clearly the debris, yes, that is in a fairly dangerous position. So I'm not sure whose wing that is. That could well be Gabriel Stilp's in the high-tech. But I have to say, when you've got teenagers out on the circuit, that safety car is very much warranted. When you've got a part that is that big out on the circuit, safety has to be paramount. So with there being debris at turn 8, they had to call the safety car on that one, really. You couldn't avoid that. See, look how close to the normal racing line that actually is. And when you've got drivers battling wheel to wheel, without the safety car, that would have been inevitable that one of the drivers would have gone into that. So it's going to be very tricky now, as obviously the field will bunch up. This is great news for Fairclough, Deligny, Slater et al, because now they're going to close right up on the top 5 again. So let's see how it all transgresses as a result of that. Well, we've got the ability now to take you through the through the race order, and there are quite a few shuffles in the deck here. The top 3 are as they started: Kian Nakamura Berta, Rashid Al-Daheri and Alex Powell, but it looks as though all 3 have got a race-winning car, so it could be interesting to see who gets it. Jack Beaton is now up to 4th, having started P6. Enzo Yeh is now 5th, having started 7th, so good starts from them. Deegan Fairclough's the big mover. He's gone from 9th on the grid to P6. Then 7th is Enzo Deligny, 8th is Freddie Slater, he's shot up from 13th. 9th is Keanu Al-Azhari, he has actually slipped back a few places. 10th is Gilles Caranta, not the greatest of starts for the Frenchman, and he's in the final points-paying position at the moment. Zach Scholar is in 11th position, and the reverse grid pole as it stands is likely to be the Macanese driver, Thiago Rodriguez. So he could be starting on reverse grid pole for Excel. 13th at the moment is Matteo Quintarelli. Then Thomas Stoltjemanis, the Latvian, ahead of Alvis Rodella and Jevan David, the Sri Lankan Bat, as he is known. His nickname, the Bat, and you'll probably see around the circuit quite a few people in those special limited edition lime green t-shirts that Jevan David's camp have come up with. The Bat will rise, is what they say. 17th is Sebastian Murray, 18th is Lucas Amalisto, 19th is Reza Sawudan, and then Davide Larini in 20th in front of Chu Yanpu, Max Popov, Rafael Norak, Kamal Murad, Dion Gauda, Lukas Schun, Everett Stagg, Fu Hao, Kari Schreiner and Nicholas Starty. We have 3 retirements by the look of it. One of them is Gabriel Stilp, and that's very unfortunate because it means we now drop from 6 championship contenders to 5. So it's now not mathematically possible for Gabriel Stilp to win this championship. I think he knew that going in realistically anyway. Kai Darianani out of the race after problems at the start, and Maxi Restrepo, the Colombian, also in dire straits for the Santalok team. So just 30 drivers competing. Some of you might have thought there should be 34. Well, the 34th was the Japanese driver Hyo Yamakoshi, who picked up a light injury after Yas Marina last week, and unfortunately it hasn't healed. To that, everybody's Nakamura Berta's on course for 25, and Rashid Al-Aheri's on course for 18, so this is really going to tighten up. As far as the championship is concerned, between these 4, it could go the distance, right the way to the last race of the year. And don't forget race 2, so that really does mean anything could happen. And for Slater and Al-Azhari, they could end up at the front of the grid for race 2. Here we go, down to the braking zone, the big one at the end of the back straight. And there could be a few drivers chopping across for positions. Moving around in the braking area, got to be careful of doing that too sporadically, because then you could end up with a penalty. But certainly for the moment, it's all guns blazing for Nakamura Berta. Ahead of Al-Aheri, Powell, Beaton, and Enzo Ye. Then this battle for sealed in. Nicely done, that's piece. Al-Azhari is going to be hunting all over the back wing of Caranta. It's perfect for Freddie Slater. He gets away from it all, and he's now in P6 with a chance to eat into the deficit. This race has so many twists and turns. Remember what I was saying at the start. It's not just about who's the fastest over 1 lap. It's who can look after the tyres over half an hour. And suddenly, you'll find you've got no grip on the previous lap where you had some. Down the back straight, Nakamura Berta still hanging on from Al-Aheri and Powell. Then Beaton, yay. And then a big gap back again to Enzo Deligny, who's fought his way to get up. But no, it's Freddie Slater, isn't it? Now in P6. Fairclough defends. I don't think he needed to. Caranta's now trying to go the long way round Enzo Deligny. Not a lot of room to play with, but Caranta's going to try and make his bid for his fellow countryman. The 2 Frenchmen are going to go wheel to wheel. Deligny goes a little bit wide. Here comes Al-Azhari trying to split the 2 of them, and he's done it round the far side. Can he hold it? Al-Azhari needs to keep a wiggle on. Beautiful. Al-Azhari deals with Deligny perfectly, and now here comes the Prema of Thomas Stoltjemanis. He's taken over Dorian Pin's car for the last weekend of the year. Al-Azhari's going to dive in on Caranta. Can he make that work? Lock up. And Caranta goes wide. Al-Azhari's going to have the inside, but will he have enough traction on the outside? No, he doesn't. Caranta comes back at him. Terrific racing in the final weekend of the season. This is critical for Al-Azhari, the championship leader, with the yellow nose tip on the Yazid colours. Stoltjemanis up the inside of Deligny. Deligny doesn't have to leave too much space for the Latvian. They actually bang wheels as they come off the turn. And now Stoltjemanis has got him on the brake. Somebody's lost part of the nose cone on the main straight. Now that is pretty catastrophic if they end up going into that. So that could end up being another safety car potentially. So the 83 is reported to the stewards, I am told, for waving during the safety car laps. That's Gilles Caranta. So that's a very bizarre thing to be weaving at the main straight, not waving, weaving on the main straight on lap 6. Gilles Caranta has essentially been given a warning by the stewards, or has been reported to the stewards. I thought it was something to do with him waving behind the safety car, and there goes Al-Azhari out wide. Has to cut back in front of Stoltjemanis. Still has a chance to get through though on Deligny. Holds to the inside line and keeps the position. Keanu Al-Azhari able to hold on there, and there is a yellow flag waving on the main straight. That is for the debris. They might be able to get a marshal out to that and remove the debris in time before a safety car is needed, because there are a lot of marshals on that main straight, so we should be okay. But we'll keep an eye on it as Jevan David now starts to attack Zach Skula for 12th position, and that would be reverse grid pole, and he's done it! Round the outside! Mighty move from Jovan David. That is such a stellar overtake, with so much riding on it too. Up the inside comes Al-Azhari, safety car. Talk about the nick of time for Jovan David. They do call the safety car, but David has completed the move just in the nick of time, and that is potentially a reverse grid pole for the Sri Lankan. So that's why we're under safety car. That panel from the car is now in the middle of the road. I couldn't tell you which car it's come from, so we'll have to double check. Don't tell me it's from Jovan David's car. I thought there was something missing from one of the Santa locks. Yeah, it looks like it's a panel of a Santa lock. If that's Jovan David's piece, it is, you know. That's come off Jovan David's car. It's just parted company on the main straight. Now, question, is that enough for a technical flag? I'm not sure if it is or not. And there's a couple of drivers here who don't know that we're under safety car. Come on, guys. Safety car boards have been around the circuit. So Jovan David is now sitting there in P12 going, please, 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 let me keep this. The car is fine. The piece has already come off the car and they're going to clear it. Please don't give me a technical flag. I can go to the flag. I can do this, because for Jovan David, a reverse grid pole would be absolutely heaven sent after the miserable season he's had for bad luck. But getting into 12th position now is critical. But there is the bodywork that has come from the Santa lock. Let's have a look at it again. Look in the background. You're about to see it fly up in the air. Look behind the pink nose of Zach Skula. There it is. It parts company on the main straight. Well, this is a tricky one, because technically that piece of bodywork has now parted company. I've seen this in the past when the marshals and the officials think, well, it's not going to fall off because it already has. So they might just be able to keep him going without having an issue. But I've also seen it in the past where they feel, well, the car is not complete. So it's a difficult one. Do you give him a technical flag for that? I really hope, for his sake, that they don't. Because I know there's a heck of a lot of people down in Colombo, in Sri Lanka, who are absolutely cheering for this. And over at Albatross, I'm sure they're all sitting around getting very, very excited about the prospect of their boy getting a reverse grid pole. I'll tell you who has got the black and orange flag. It's a completely different driver. That's Kamal Murad. So Kamal Murad has had to come into the pits to repair his car. He has now done that. Safety car in at the end of this lap. Okay, we're going to go racing again. Nakamura Berta will have another chance to disappear into the distance, and we've only got 6 minutes left of racing, plus the additional lap after that. So there is the 76. That's Rafael Narac's Santa lock. That's what it should look like. I really hope everybody out there now is going to be able to go to the flag without incident, because we want a pure close quarters race now. So out they come. Let's see if this is going to go the distance. Nakamura Berta's already gone for it. He's already dropped the hammer. But Rashid Al-Daheri wasn't caught out by that at all. So it looks like he'll go with him. He may get a chance on the second green flag lap of this restart. This is going to be very close all the way. So let's see how it all continues. We're going to come off the final turn. The leaders are going to be green, 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 green. And Nakamura Berta gets back into the lead of the race once again. Al-Daheri second, Powell third, Beaton fourth, then Ye, Slater, Fairclough, Caranta, Deligny, Al-Azhari, Stoljamanis, and Jovan David looking good for a reverse grid pole. Look at the battle going on between Fairclough and Caranta. Caranta and Fairclough right up close to the pit lane exit as Caranta tries his best to overcut the high-tech. They come again. Through turn 3, flat on the throttle through the right-hander. But at least those two safety car periods will have given the tyres a little bit of a breather, but not enough of them to be comfortable. Still they challenge on. Zach Skula trying to get himself back into 12th position. Young man who lives very close indeed to this very race circuit. He says he can actually see his house from here. Fantastic battle still to come in this one, and look how close Freddie Slater's got to Enzo Ye. He's just on the charge for points. He knows that Al-Azhari is a long way behind him, so if he can score as many points as possible, he can at least level the deficit, especially when you consider that Kia Nakamura Berta is leading the race and could tie Keanu Al-Azhari for points in the championship. This could go right down to the wire as Fairclough and Caranta continue their squabble Is that Slater in front of Ye? It is. So Slater's got ahead of Enzo Ye now. That's up for P5 for Freddie Slater. He is charging through this field and he's getting himself back into championship winning contention. So 5 points, 5th position, sorry, will be good enough for 10 points. That'll be 9 more than Keanu Al-Azari if it stays like this. And it will mean that Nakamura Berta will only close him up by 15. So this is very tight. I think we're going to have 3 drivers here potentially covered by about 3 points in the championship fight. Deligny tries to go the long way around Caranta, finds Fairclough in his way. Caranta's going to try and make it happen anyway. Skates across. Fairclough will not be intimidated. Deligny's going to try and come past both of them on the inside line. Deligny's made it work. Here comes Al-Azari in the championship fight, throwing himself into the gauntlet, and they still run the outside. Fairclough trying to keep himself in this mix. Stolchamanis and David are now in the battle as well. Terrific racing as they come off the turn and down the main straight again. Deligny and Fairclough, wheel to wheel, almost locking wheels. Watch for Caranta. He goes across the ribbon to get past both men. Caranta throws his weight into the battle and heads the pack. Brilliant from the Frenchman. David runs a little bit deep. Will rejoin in behind Stolchamanis. Al-Azari's got to be careful he doesn't take his front wing off with Fairclough. But Gilles Caranta will not be pushed around, and he finds himself back in 7th position once more. This is absolutely euphoric motorsport between these 6 drivers. But in the middle of it all is the championship leader, Keanu Al-Azari, and he's got to be so careful not to throw himself out of the race. Well, there is the hard-charging Dion Gouda in the middle of all of that, trying to fight his way back into contention, I do believe. So it's all pretty close quarters. He's worked his way up to 19th, by the way, Dion Gouda. An amazing drive from what was essentially a pit lane start. Down the straight, Stolchamanis has got David all over the back of him. Ivan David trying his best. Can he go the long way round? Doesn't look like it for the moment. Now, I haven't seen the technical flag come out for Ivan David, so I don't think it's going to happen. So I think he's going to get away with it, which is absolutely brilliant. It's not exactly as if he can do anything about that situation, but he's certainly not in a dangerous car. So he should be able to bring it home to the flag, and in 12th position, that will be pole position for race 2, if he can just hang on to it. But it's so difficult to hang on to anything right now. He drifts wide as he jewels away. This is tough stuff in F4 UAE. We knew it was going to be this close all the way, and it just continues to be. Big lock up in front of us, but Gouda is having a great squabble with Luca Somalisto. And that's one of the Santalocks in the mix there behind them. I think that is Rafael Narak, who is currently dealing with Julian Pu and Lucas Schun, the XL teammates. So there's battles everywhere you look in this race. Diving up the inside, that's one of the PHM cars. That is the 33 of Max Popov trying to get into the mix. Dueling away in the hope that he can mix it with Davide Larini, who is currently the leading PHM AIX driver. Not bad considering this is only his 4th race behind the wheel of this car. Dion Gouda trying to shake off the attentions of the man in 16th. Thiago Rodriguez has suddenly got Freddie Slater all over the back of him. And we're into the final seconds of this race, which means we're on the penultimate lap. The top 3 is going to remain as is, but Freddie Slater is going to fight tooth and nail to get himself back into 4th position. Can he make it happen? There is the number 5, Sebastian Murray. He's got pressure of his own now. He's got Julian Pu and Rafael Narak hot on his heels as Narak has a look on the inside of the Chinese driver. Julian Pu not able to get through. Down the back straight. Nakamura Berta still thinks Al-Daheri could be a threat. Trying to shake him off the toe. 3, 2, 1. Time is up. So that means we're on the penultimate lap. When they finish this lap, we will have 1 more to go. So for Kian Nakamura Berta, he is about to complete the mother of all comebacks. A win in this race puts him right into the vanguard of the championship fight going into tomorrow, and it will certainly give us an amazing showdown. Full credit to Rashid Al-Daheri and Alex Powell. They have done everything they possibly can to keep the championship fight alive. In Alex Powell's case, I think it will be game over after this one, but not by much. And I think for Rashid Al-Daheri, it's going to be pretty tricky for them now. There is an investigation for possible overtake under safety car, and that is for Keanu Al-Azari, the championship leader. You couldn't have asked for any more drama in this race, and it looks like we're going to get a last-minute one. Now, if he has overtaken under safety car, he will, of course, drop back and out of the points. So here we go, final lap begins. Kian Nakamura Berta 1 lap to go. And he's trying desperately to shake off Rashid Al Daheri here. But this is still a man under pressure. You can sense that Kia Nakamura knows this is his last chance to get back on terms with Al-Azhari and Slater in the championship fight, especially looking at how quick Slater is over a few laps. And Slater's in a good position for race 3, so he's definitely going to be a threat in the final race of the season. That is for sure. This is going to come down to the last lap of the last race of the year. You can just sense it. It's so tight. But I really cannot see how this is going to be settled easily. But now that we know that the number 11, Keanu Al-Azhari, championship leader, is under investigation for a possible overtake under safety car, that could throw a real hammer blow into this championship. Not only that, because of course if he gets a penalty and drops well out of the top 12, his weekend could be massively compromised. So let's see how this all plays out. Nakamura locks up in the lead, still under pressure, still with difficulties finding grip. And these tyres have never been more exhausted. Rashid Al Daheri still trying to stay with Kia Nakamura. Could he snatch the win in the final few corners? If Nakamura can't keep the car pointed in the right direction sufficiently, it might just happen. Rashid Al Daheri still keeping the faith. That Dubai skyline, a magnificent feature of this race circuit. Rashid Al Daheri's only got a few corners to take advantage of any slip-ups of Kia Nakamura, who locks up again, but so does Al Daheri. It's stalemate. Nakamura-Berta's got to try and save this in the final few corners. If he messes up the last one, it could be a sprint to the line. Nakamura-Berta's got to be careful. Down to the final turn, they are struggling for grip, they're really fighting it, but Nakamura-Berta is going to pull off the comeback of the century. He wins here in Dubai, the first race of the weekend, and that sets up an amazing fight for the title. Slater's taking it to the line with Beaton. Has he beaten him? No, he misses out by 71 thousandths of a second. It's 5th place for Freddie Slater, but that's an amazing drive and 10 points on the board. Al-Azhari crosses the line 10th, good enough for 1 point. And I tell you what, there is a bit of a party going on in Sri Lanka right now, because Van David has crossed the line in P12. If he stays there, he will be in reverse grid pole position for tomorrow's second race. That is a monstrous comeback for Van David, having started all the way back in 25th. He has gone through half the field like the missile in Mario Kart. Absolutely sensational for the Sri Lankan. But of course, we still need to wait for that investigation into Keanu Al-Azhari, whether he did indeed overtake under safety car. It's being investigated. And if that's the case, then he will lose 10th position, the point that goes with it, and it could ruin race 2 for him. Because at the moment, he's looking to start race 2 from 3rd on the grid. So here are the provisional results. Kia Nakamura, your winner from Rashid Al Daheri. Great job from him. Alex Powell in 3rd, and another very stunning podium. Jack Beaton beats Freddie Slater to the line by 71 thousandths of a second. From Ye, Deligny, Caranta, Fairclough, and Keanu Al-Azhari, who will be sweating all the way until that investigation is concluded later this evening. 11th for Thomas Stoltjemanis, who will start on the front row alongside Van David in pole position for tomorrow. That is a big deal for everybody back home in Sri Lanka. Lucas Samalisto, Zach Skula, Dion Gauda, Thiago Rodriguez, Davide Larini, the leading PHMAX driver ahead of Quintarelli, Popov, and Sebastian Murray. Some great battles. Narak in 21st in front of Chu Yanpu, then Loic Shun, Nicholas Stati, Reza Suwerthan, Kamal Murad, Everett Stack, Carrie Schreiner, Vuyu Hao, and Alves Rodella. The last man to finish the race was actually Gabriel Stilp. He got the car going again to get some extended test session laps in, I guess, to figure out what to do with the tyres tomorrow. The 2 retirements, Kai Dadianani and Maxi Restrepo. But what a thriller. That just shows you how tough it is in 28 degrees air temperature, sand on the racetrack, barely any grip in the tyres, and we could have a showdown that goes all the way to the last corner of the last lap of the last race of this epic season. It really is that close, folks. I think when you've got Rashid Al Daheri banging in those podiums, Kia Nakamura taking a crucial 25 points for the win, and Freddie Slater bouncing back in style, and of course Keanu Al-Azhari trying to scrape a point or two here or there, this is going to be maybe 3 points separating the top 3 drivers in the championship going into race 2 tomorrow. Unbelievable. You couldn't have scripted it if you'd given it to Ron Howard. Kia Nakamura-Berta gets out of the car. Very deserving drive from the young Englishman who has Japanese and Slovakian heritage. He's part of the Alpine Academy. No wonder the F1 team backs this boy. Cool and calm as a cucumber under pressure, and definitely a name to watch for the future. But not only that, he's turned a 25-point deficit in the championship to what I think could end up being a dead heat in the championship lead. That is unbelievable. Great run from Rashid Al Lahiri. The Emirati has been superb here. Great to see him on the podium here in Dubai. A very impressive run from him as well. And for the local fans here, that is very pleasing indeed to see a proper United Arab Emirates superstar making his way to the podium. And in third position, a great run from the boy from Miami, Alex Powell, who is part of the Mercedes F1 Junior Driver Program and could certainly be a candidate in the future to partner the likes of George Russell. He's come back into the pit lane very slowly, I have to say. So a fascinating situation for Alex Powell, who has literally crawled in third position. Not quite sure why he's taken so long to come back. But a third position nonetheless for the boy from Miami. And Alex Powell, who has got a massive legion of fans, not only in the United States, but also in Kingston Town in Jamaica, where his uncle, Asafa Powell, I'm sure, will be very proud of his nephew. The Olympic superstar, clearly it runs in the family. Speed is very much in the Powell DNA. Great performance from all 3 of our drivers on the rostrum. I think Alex Powell has understood that although he finishes in third position, that's the championship pretty much done for him as far as winning the championship is concerned. But he has still shown what he can do with a win earlier in the season and some fantastic podiums since then. He has learned the hard way. He's done an absolutely terrific job. And he'll join me, Kian and Rashid on the podium very, very shortly indeed. Excellent racing here at Dubai Autodrome, and that was only race 1. We've still got 2 absolute banters to come over the course of Sunday. A great run for the Mumbai Falcon. More silverware to take home to Miami. Excellent work. In second position for the United Arab Emirates, Rashid Al Daheri. A huge cheer from the crowd and a very impressive run to second position for the Yazid team. But your race winner for the United Kingdom, Kian Nakamura Berta. Right into the fight for the championship now with this brilliant, brilliant victory. It's now my honour to invite the General Manager of Dubai Autodrome, Mr. Faisal Abdullah Al-Salawi, to present the trophies to our drivers on the rostrum. A fabulous performance from all three. Firstly, in third position for the United States of America and the Mumbai Falcons, Alex Powell. Secondly, for the United Arab Emirates and the Yazid Race Academy and Prema Racing, Rashid Al Daheri. And lastly, to our race winner for the United Kingdom and Mumbai Falcons, Kian Nakamura Berta. He actually takes two trophies, ladies and gentlemen, because not only does he win the race overall, he also wins the Rookie Cup as well. Right into the fight for this championship now, folks. And it is wonderful to see such an incredible waft of drivers in such a fantastic first race. And we've got two more of those to come tomorrow. The champion is anything but decided. Looks like it's going to go right down to the last corner of the last lap of the last race of the season, the way it's currently going. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Powell, Rashid Al Daheri, and your race winner, Kian Nakamura Berta. And of course, it's time for the boys to celebrate in style here at the end of race one. Let's get busy with the fizzy. Congratulations to our three drivers. They've done a terrific job. Excellent race and fantastic performances from our drivers. They have got two exciting and intense races tomorrow. We cannot wait to see how it's all going to play out. A massive congratulations to Alex Powell, to Rashid Al Daheri, and to Kian Nakamura Berta. There are two races to come tomorrow. We cannot wait to see how it all unfolds. The champion will be decided on Sunday here at Dubai Autodrome, but the Formula Regional Middle East Championship race is coming up very shortly. The Formula Regional Middle East Championship is about to come to a conclusion over the next 2 days, and it'll be a very tough one to decide. But the man who stands here at the end of this race could well have the same number as this particular board. Having taken pole position, Tuukka Taponen of Finland is in prime position. All he has to do is stay ahead of Taylor Barnard in race 1, and he will be the champion. Everybody watching in Finland, this could be your moment in the sunshine. Let's find out how he is going to limber up, along with all of the other contenders in Formula Regional Middle East for this final weekend. An end-of-term atmosphere at Dubai Autodrome as the Formula Regional Middle East Championship draws to a close. And even without the Taponen versus Barnard duel, there are several battles yet to be concluded amongst the starting lineup. Tuukka Taponen is just 1 point away from clinching the drivers' and teams' titles for Race GP, whilst Zachary David's 2 podiums at Abu Dhabi helped the team accelerate away in the standings. Jesse Carrasquedo is still working hard to catch up, and Kanato Lee adapted well as a new boy last weekend. Mumbai Falcons have shot up to second in the standings at Yas Marina, thanks to the win for Rafael Kamara and the podium finishes for Ugo Chukwu and James Wharton. The team may have lost the chance to defend the team's title in 2024, but both Kamara and Wharton are competing for third in the drivers' race. The PHM AIX squad are still hopeful for a win or two before the season's end, and Taylor Barnard is in full send mode for as long as the title race is still alive. Brando Badua and Tazanapol Inverfivazak are still quick and could grab some more silverware, whilst Luruki is getting closer to the podium every weekend. Marty Boyer and Pinnacle still have statements to make as the Spaniard bids to catch Kamara for third, whilst Giovanni Mascio and Alexander Abkasava are now deserved point scorers following great battles last week. And now that Finley Green is almost fully recovered from appendicitis, all 4 drivers want to bow out strong. MP stood for missed potential last week, as Bruno Del Pino was robbed of a maiden win with suspension failure whilst leading, and Nikhil Bora's tyres faded too rapidly for a fight for victory. Both men, along with Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. and Isaac Barashi, are hoping that they can finally drop the bad luck and win races the way they deserve to. After an epic couple of races at the start of the year, reality set in for Santalog, who are still new at the Formula Regional game. But Teofil Naal still has the speed to turn in a good showing, and both Enzo Peugeot and Jose Garfias were in positive form last weekend, and will be keen to leave the UAE with some silverware to carry home. Evans GP were the feel-good team of the paddock at round 4, as Costa Taparis stormed to a fabulous podium in race 1. Now that the team have shaken off their early woes, it's the hope that both John Bennett and Edgar Pierre can join the Australian in the points-paying positions, as all 3 men are able to mix it with the best of them. The XL Motorsport team are still having a terrific run as rookies in Formula Regional, and Noah Lyle spent much of the last 2 weekends dueling with the championship contenders. The potential is there, and if Yaroslav Vasalaho is able to match him for pace in the early part of the weekend, the team should end the year with more points. Finally, the team from R&B Racing celebrated Chinese New Year at Yas Marina with more speed and determination than ever before. But the challenge will be extreme if Gao Yujia and Wang Shongwei are hoping to score points before the season concludes. Yujia is the best placed, and his ever-improving racecraft could be enough to seal the deal. Well, we're in a very interesting situation coming into the start of this one. Obviously, we know that Tuukka Taponen is going to be going from pole position off the starting line. It's going to be very, very easy for him to let it slip, though, in the conditions that we've currently got. You would think that in the bone dry, it would be nice and easy. Well, it's going to be very different to what it was like at Dubai Autodrome 2 weeks ago. Now the air temperature is close to 30 degrees Celsius. There is sand all over the circuit at the far side of the course. And here on the circuit, you can see on the main start-finish straight, the shadow cast by the grandstand actually means that here on the grid, it's nice and cool. The rest of the circuit, though, it's an inferno. It's very, very hard on tyres. A couple of the drivers from F4 were telling me at the end of the previous race that the tyres started to go off halfway around lap 2. So that is just unbelievable in terms of tyre degradation. It's going to be so difficult to keep the back end of the car stable, especially when you consider that the Formula Regional car is significantly heavier than its F4 counterpart. So we're going to have a lot of very interesting battles out here on the course. The further back the grid you go, the more of an opportunity the driver actually has to make a good start, because it's nice and cool now at this part of the course. The further up the grid you go, it's actually going to be tougher. And I noticed that pole position, Tuukka Taponen's grid slot, is actually in the baking hot sunshine, whereas everybody else's grid position is in the shade. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but off the starting grid, that could be very interesting indeed, because the hotter the rubber gets stationary on that front of the grid, it it could stick to the floor a little bit more in terms of the grease of the tyre, the concrete part of the contact patch, and that could actually bog the car down by a couple of tenths of a second. Again, doesn't sound like much, but if the man in second on the grid gets a flyer, that could be Tuukka Tarppanen second into turn one. And then, all of a sudden, the easy road to victory looks like it's going to be much tougher to secure. There's a real atmosphere of expectation for this as well. You've got a lot of people that have travelled here for this particular race. They want to see something spectacular. I saw in the pit lane earlier this week, Jock Clear of Ferrari was here to keep an eye on his young academy drivers. And of course, Tuukka Tarppanen on the course of going for the title. I'm not entirely sure Ferrari were expecting to have their boy be quite as spectacular as he has been at this stage of the season. It's been pretty spectacular to watch how he has gone from a Formula Regional rookie in the first weekend to the man about to clinch the championship with a whopping 50 points advantage coming into the anti-penultimate race of the season. So there's a lot riding on the fin in this particular part of the course, but he's definitely going to have it particularly exciting. As you can see, our marshals here still doing a fantastic job making sure that everybody is safe and sound. I actually want to give a bit of a shout out to the boys and girls in orange over the course of these 5-6 weeks. They've been the reason we've had such unbelievable racing, and not a lot of credit gets given to these guys, but they've been absolutely superb. And we have to say that these fantastic men and women have been absolutely incredible over the course of the weeks. They've been absolutely the reason why the racing has been so spectacular. We need to give them a huge shout out. Without them, we are nothing. So they've been absolutely fantastic, and all of the drivers pretty much have been safe and sound throughout. There's not been any major incidents over the course of the weeks, only a couple of race-ending moments rather than anything that we needed to get really concerned about. So again, all credit to the officials and the marshals around the circuits these last few weeks. They've been absolutely amazing. Right, so now that the drivers are finishing their second reconnaissance lap, they're going to make their way to the starting grid positions. We'll hang around a little bit longer while they get to the grid. So what can you expect over the course of this race? Well, it's going to be 28 minutes plus the additional lap. There could be a safety car or two, especially considering how hot and how intense it's going to be. Plus, that run to the first corner, as you can see for yourself, that's a long run to turn one. So by the time you get into the heat haze of the sunshine, you're getting towards the braking zone. And the braking zone is actually downhill into turn one. So it's going to be really, really tricky to see how it all plays out. But the drivers are definitely going to have an intense run as they go through. So while the drivers are making their way to the starting grid, obviously, you're going to want to hear from the two drivers who have the best possible chance of wrapping up the championship. So let's hear from first Tuukka Tarppanen and second Taylor Barnard about their chances coming into this most crucial of race weekends. We're at a critical point in the championship now. 3 races left. You have 50 points on Taylor Barnard. Is there any pressure going in, or are you just not thinking like that?
I think I don't have a pressure. I think he has more to win. Let's say, okay, I can also lose the position in the championship, but you know, I just do what I have done so far, and I keep the focus on staying on points and focusing on what we do.
And this weekend, Jock Clear from Ferrari is here, obviously observing his young drivers, so this is the perfect opportunity to seal the deal under his nose, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice to have Jock here to see us, me and Rafa, doing quite good job in this championship, and yeah, for sure he will give us some good tips.
Considering you've just become the rookie champion after 4 very tough weekends, you've actually scored more points in the first 4 weekends in 2024 than Andrea Kimi Antonelli did all year last year. Are you surprised by how successful it's been?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised. Also, as I say, the team is also quite surprised how fast we have been. It's obviously good to be that quick and fight for the wins and podiums. And I'm really surprised what we have done so far and really happy.
We're looking forward to seeing what you can do, Tuukka. Good luck.
Thank you.
Taylor Barnard, the fight isn't over yet. Still 3 races to go and still a good chance you can catch up. What are your expectations for the weekend?
Well, I mean, the gap is quite big. Last time we were here, I was on pole and I won the first race. So the idea is to try and get pole and win the first race, and then we'll just see what goes from there.
You've just come back in from Bahrain, your first experience of a Formula 2 car. I'm sure everybody wants to know how exciting and how much fun that was.
Yeah, of course, it was great fun. My first touch with the Formula 2 car was something special, and can't wait for the first round.
So obviously we've got some very serious competition ahead. The reverse grid race is obviously going to be a big challenge, but you have been able to go from the back of the grid to the front in the past. Is this full send?
Definitely.
Looking forward to it, Taylor. Good luck.
Thank you.
Short and sweet from Taylor Barnard. You know he only does two things, full send or stationary. It's going to be really exciting. So check out the track temperature now, 31 degrees Celsius. That's actually the air temperature, not the track temperature. It's climbing all the time and it's getting relentlessly hot out there. And it shows you just how difficult we're going to have it, because the tyres, I was being told by the drivers in F4 UAE at the end of the race, essentially the tyres lasted one lap at peak and then it suddenly started to drop away. And you could really see it in the closing stages of the previous race on track, the F4 race, where the tyres just literally plummeted like a stone and the back ends of the cars were desperate to overtake the front end. So this is going to be very tricky for everybody. So let's talk you through the starting grid. After the earlier investigation into Brando Badua, he was cleared and acquitted, so he will take his position on the front row of the starting grid. That's great news, because the Italian really has an opportunity here to go for his first win. There's a lot of pressure on Tuka Tarpanen to get into hot water from pole position. So essentially, Brando could go for the move into turn one. Tuka could let him have it. Second position would be all he needs in these situations to get himself to the front position. So really exciting. And an opportunity to have a look and see what will actually happen. So let's see how exciting things are going to be. But now we've got a really exciting situation for all of the contenders out there. Tuka Tarpanen, pole position. All he's got to do in the first race is beat Taylor Barnard, and he is going off P12 on the grid for this one after a difficult qualifying session this morning. So it's looking pretty much done and dusted. It isn't finished yet, of course. It's certainly looking a little bit easier for Tuka to win this championship than it is for Taylor Barnard too. A lot has to happen essentially in first race for Taylor Barnard to win the championship, and I know that everybody in Finland is pretty much already running to the bank in the bookies and saying he's going to win the championship in about 45 minutes. But that is not really a guarantee. A lot can happen in Formula Regional Middle East, and over the course of this season it already has. So things that we already thought were pretty much a done deal do not necessarily come that way. There is Rafael Kamara, a race winner this year, currently third in the Drivers' Championship, hoping to seal that over the course of these three races. I don't quite think he's going to have enough in terms of points haul to keep up with Taylor Barnard and take second in the Drivers' Championship, but certainly third is what he's after. There's Jessica Riscado, the Mexican driver, who is Tuka Tarpanen's teammate, and also on the grid, Jessica Riscado finds himself alongside his teammate Kanato Lee, the Japanese youngster, who is still learning the trade. The safety car goes off around the course. That's so that they can put themselves into position. There is young Bruno Del Pino, who's been very strong over the course of this weekend so far. Sixth on the grid for race one, but he'll be third on the grid for race two. He did a terrific job in qualifying for MP Motorsport, and it's great to see that the team are back to their best, not only with Bruno Del Pino, but also Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. is going to be starting this race from 10th on the grid. Much more the sort of pace we have come to expect from the young Brazilian, who of course is the son of the two-time Formula One world champion and Indy 500 winner, Emerson Fittipaldi. Everybody's in very much end-of-term feel here. They don't really want the season to end. Some of them are looking forward to going home, having been stuck out here since about January the 8th. But at the same time, a lot of people were just getting into the swing of being out here, and it's a shame we're going to have to end it after this weekend. I, for one, am, as always, going to miss the United Arab Emirates. It's always been a very welcoming country for me, and it'll be tough to take that on Monday I'll be getting on the plane and probably won't be able to get back here again until January 2025. But there is James Wharton gearing himself up ready for the last weekend of the season. 7th on the grid for him in race one. It'll be fascinating to see how he continues his incredible run. But Tuka Tarpanen and Brando Badua are the men you want to watch from the first part of the race. They will go off the starting grid. PHM AAX looking for a win in this anti-penultimate race of the year. Even if it doesn't come from Taylor Barnard, if they can get it with Brando Badua, they'll be absolutely ecstatic. And after the week that Taylor Barnard has had, giving his first taste of a Formula 2 car, I don't think he can be too miserable about the way things have gone. Second in the championship will still give him enough super license points to be a Formula 1 racer, not test driver, racer. So that is very exciting for Taylor Barnard, and he'll be able to take that to all of the F1 teams and go, look, 2025, there could be a real grid reshuffle. I'm a very handy pair of hands. There is young Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. A very exciting race ahead for him. He knows it. and he's absolutely deserved his 10th position on the starting grid. Very good work from him in qualifying 1. The grip just disappeared apparently in Q2, which means that for race 3 he'll be back to where he's been, unfortunately, rather ill-accustomed over the course of these first 4 weekends of the championship. But it's definitely going to be an exciting battle. Good question comes in from Maroon. How old are the competitors? Basically, over the age of 16 is when the drivers can get into the world of Formula Regional Middle East. It's the second run of the single-seater motorsport ladder. If you want to go all the way to Formula 1, you start in F4 in your national competitions around the world. Then Formula Regional comes next rather than F3, because Formula Regional basically segues between F4 and F3. F4 is national. Formula Regional is intercontinental, so you have a European, an Oceanic, a Middle East and an Americas championship at the moment. There are a couple of other places that have Formula Regional championships and a couple of others that are being touted, but so far Formula Regional Middle East is one of the top single-seater championships, certainly the first ones of the 2024 season, and it's the pinnacle until we get to Formula 1 at the end of February. Then, of course, we have ourselves in a fantastic situation. After Formula Regional, drivers can make their way up to Formula 3 and then Formula 2, and then if they're fortunate enough and blessed enough with both budget and accommodation, then they will end up in the world of Formula 1. So Formula Regional, a very important part of the journey to move their way forward. I'm delighted to say, very unexpectedly, to be joined in the commentary box. I was hoping to have some company this year, and rather last minute and very delightedly, I have a Dubai native nowadays. He lives here, of course, and knows his way around this circuit incredibly well. It is, of course, Ollie Webb. Ollie, only a couple of months ago you were driving a Formula 1 car around here, so you know this place quite well.
Yeah, I'm just not hearing your voice quite on there. Yeah, no, thanks for having me up here. It's came on the grid to see a few friends, and yeah, now I'm up here in the commentary booth with you again after India.
Amazing. What these guys have in terms of emission out in front, we know that the air temperature is 31 degrees Celsius. It's towards the end of a Saturday night. There's sand on the circuit. Drivers have been telling me the tyres have been disappearing after about lap 2. So what do these guys have in terms of emission statement now coming into this race? It's going to be so difficult to get the car to turn in.
It is, yeah. I mean, compared to the temperatures we were having here last week, even just speaking to Finn Green there on the grid, the car feels totally different to how it did early this morning, let alone in the previous races these guys have had. With an increase in temperature of 15 degrees, yeah, these tyres are just going to get eaten alive. So the racecraft is going to have to be a big part of that. What you learn from one lap on new tyres in qualifying goes out the window now, and you've got to have a bit of tyre management and get the places while you can.
And how much can a driver really do once the car starts to disappear? Once the back end starts to come around, lap upon lap upon lap. I mean, what chance do you actually have of keeping those tyres safe enough that you can actually sustain it, especially when you're in the middle of a battle?
Yeah, it's that balance between knowing when to go for the gap and how much that's going to destroy your tyres. So if you can position your car in a way that you can stay online for a longer period of time, get the run down the straight rather than having to risk a lockup that could build. And when these tyres lock, you know, they turn into a 50 pence piece, it will catch the same piece of tyre each time. And that's doubly bad on a circuit like this, where yes, it gives you all the grip in qualifying, but then the double-edged sword of that is the sand on the track acts like sandpaper in the grooves of the tarmac, and it can rip that tyre to shreds. So you've got to be able to do that move in a cleaner way, which does teach these guys, you know, good racecraft for whatever they move up into in the future in single-seaters.
So the drivers are now making their way around the course. It's going to be a fascinating challenge for all of them as they battle their way through. Let's talk through the starting grid. Tukka Tarpanen, the Tiger, the man who everybody in Finland is already describing as the next Mika Häkkinen, is going to be on pole position for this one, and all he has to do is stay ahead of Taylor Barnard and he wins the championship. Brando Badua, son of Luca Badua, lines up on the front row of the starting grid. This is his best grid position so far, and a great chance for the Italian to take his maiden win. Ugo Ugochukwu, third on the grid, the American, part of the McLaren Young Driver program. He is third, alongside Zachary David, the Maltese driver, gunning for what he hopes is going to be a fourth podium position for him. Rafael Camara of Brazil lining up on the third row of the grid for the Mumbai Falcons, alongside Bruno Del Pino, the Euro Cup 3 rookie champion from last year for MP Motorsport, lining up P6. James Wharton, the Australian, formerly part of the Ferrari Young Driver Academy, 7th on the grid. 8th position for Teofil Nal for the Santalok Racing Team. 9th is Tzanapol Intrafuvazak, the young Thai. And then Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. lines up 10th on the grid Mari Boyer 11th place with Taylor Barnard. A lot to do for the British driver from 12th position. 13th on the grid is Costa Taparis, 14th for Jessica Schkedo, 15th place for Kanato Lee, then it is Enzo Peugeot from Alexander Abkasava, Noah Lyle, Jose Garfias and John Bennett. Ludiki is alongside Nikhil Bora, really going to struggle from 22nd on the grid. Gao Yujia doing good job there for the R&B racing team from China. Giovanni Mascio in front of Yaroslav Zalaho, Finley Green, the absolute warrior of the grid, Edgar Pierre, Isaac Barashi and Wang Shengwei taking up his position at the back of the grid. So they've done the formation lap, Ollie. They've obviously tried to work the tyres and brakes to a crescendo. How important is it to have that confidence to nail it through turn one? Yeah,
your rear tyre temperature is obviously crucial here. Getting that reaction off the start is only so much because you've got to have the temperature in your rear tyres, and then knowing that you're going downhill off camber into turn one, there's clearly going to be some side-by-side action. There's so many talented drivers in this and such a high quantity of cars that the likelihood of you being offline into turn one is quite high. So what they've done on this outlap is crucial to how their positioning of the car is going to be through 1 and 2.
Now, Tuka Tarpanen's pole position is actually out in broad daylight, in the sunlight, whereas everything from third position on the grid downwards has been in the shade for the last 45 minutes. Doesn't sound like it's going to be that big a deal. Could it actually compromise him heading into turn one?
I think depending on, obviously, because the shade goes behind the grandstand here, and we've only just had, after the last F4 race, the sun go behind. So I think overall the track temp should be pretty consistent. So we should have, hopefully, a good, fair, clean start between both sides of the grid, because there hasn't been, fingers crossed, any rain today. Absolutely. It can happen completely out of the wall, as we've seen already in the last 2 weeks. But fortunately, yes, there is no rain predicted for this weekend here at Dubai Autodrome, so it should be all fine and dandy. Tuka Tarpanen, pole position. Brando Badua, second place. Taylor Barnard from P12 trying to fight his way back into contention. Are we about to see Tuka Tarpanen become the next Formula Regional Middle East champion? We have 28 minutes and an additional lap to find out. The lights go out instantly. We're away at Dubai, and it's a terrific start from Tuka Tarpanen. Little bit of wheel spin from Brando Badua. Could be an opportunity for Zachary David to break through in a second place, and it is. He's already leapfrogged him. So David follows his teammate in second place. That's perfect for the team from Race GP. They can run 1 and 2 in the early stages and keep everybody else at bay. They can play the team gunsmanship, and there's a slow-moving Santalok in the middle of the field already in trouble, and that is going to cause a bit of a chain reaction. One of the pinnacles goes wide. It's Abkasava. They get back into the middle of the gaggle, and already some furious racing in the opening sector, but perfect for Tuka Tarpanen. He leads with his teammate Zach David essentially playing rear gunner in second position. This couldn't be going better for the boys from France, as Race GP have got their drivers into first and second position. Brando Badua has already slumped to fourth position. Not the start he wanted at all, as Taylor Barnard is trying to go wheel to wheel with one of the MPs. That looks like Bruno Del Pino. So an astonishing start for Taylor Barnard. He's already got himself right up into the hunt of the top 10, unless of course that is to Zanabol Interfubazak, his teammate. They come down the back straight, and Tuka Tarpanen is loving life in the lead of this race. Down to the braking zone for the hairpin. A couple of drivers are going to need to bail out of this if they're not careful. 3 wide is brave, and somehow they all just about managed to sustain it. Yeah, I mean, we're lucky that we've got so much runoff here at Dubai Autodrome. When you go onto that, you see this wake like you do with the water, but actually of the sand that's coming up. And with there being this many cars, as soon as the cars separate in front of you, another car appears, and you've got to take off track. And we can see a few of these planks when they're going off here. Again, there you can see the amount of sand that gets sprayed off towards the side of the track. Very tricky stuff on the opening lap. Certainly Tuka Tarpanen has himself in a position. There's big damage to one of the MP cars there in the background. Couldn't quite see which one it was, but side by side, that is Mumbai Falcon versus PHM, and Brando Badua loses another place to Rafael Kamara, and he may well lose another one to Uga Uga Chukwu. He's going to try and dive up the inside. No, that's Wharton, my apologies. So Wharton will get his run on the inside line, and that's going to be Badua down to P6. Little puff of smoke comes off the car as he comes off the turn, as Barnard and Interfubazak are trying to duel away down the main straight. It's been a terrific start for Barnard, up in 8th position, but now we're going to see some battles as Del Pino tries to get up the inside of Badua himself now into turn 1, as also the BHM drivers behind in the AIX-backed cars. That's Barnard and Interfubazak are trying to stay out of harm's way. Barnard has managed to get himself in front of his teammate, and Marty Boyer is held at bay for a little longer. So too is Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. in the orange and black MP. But Teofil Nal and Nikhil Bora have had an incident on the opening lap. It's Nikhil Bora who's pulled off the racetrack.
No sign of a safety car yet, so he must have pulled it to a safe marshal position.
Yeah, we can't see any debris or anything, but the slight bit of footage that we saw, it looked like a rear wing to the side. I don't know if there's been a puncture, but tell you what, whoever makes these drab rock wood planks is going to be making a lot of money after this race.
Certainly will. It's a perfect situation up front. There is Teofil Nal. He's already out of the car. So the Santalok driver who took a win earlier this year at Yas Marina, not ending his season the way he wanted to. That's going to ruin race 2 because, of course, reverse grid race 2, it's the top 10 finishers in race 1 that go into position in reverse for race 2. So if you retire from this one, you'll start from the back in race 2, and that's a problem as you've got yellow flags and drivers still racing wheel to wheel. It's difficult for the drivers because obviously it's a very tricky point to notice the yellow flags. But if that particular overtake that we've just seen was under yellow flags, then unfortunately for Enzo Peugeot, that is going to come back to bite him.
It's tough, yeah, when you're side by side and you force the other car off onto the track, and by the time your eyes have regained control of where you want to be towards the apex, you spot that yellow flag. You can't tell if you were already in front or behind by the time it happened, and it's up to the team to then be getting onto the radio, speaking to race control and finding out if you need to give that position back.
Broken front wing for Bruno Del Pino as he tries his best to keep Taylor Barnard behind him. You can see for yourself that there is a flap to the right front of Bruno Del Pino's MP car. He's desperately trying to keep Barnard at bay. That's really aggressive, but Barnard should have a decent run all the way down to the straight. Del Pino fighting, trying to keep the British driver at bay, but Taylor Barnard has the inside line. Bruno Del Pino is going to try and go long on the brakes, but the front wing being broken is definitely going to compromise his turn-in, and so too, it makes the difficulty even harder as Mauri Boyer drifts a little bit wide there, having had a little bit of a tussle with Tazin Fuvazak. So already some big moments. I think that might actually be Brandon Badua that's got past Bruno Del Pino rather than Taylor Barnard. Barnard is next in line. I thought for a moment there we were going to go safety car, but we don't seem to have done so. So again, Teofil Nal and Nikhil Bora have parked their cars way out of harm's way. Problems as well for the Australian Noah Lyle. He seems to have brought it into the pits to retire, so that is very unfortunate for the XL Motorsport team, who are still in their first ever Formula Regional campaign. But yet again, in Formula Regional Middle East, no sign of a safety car in the first couple of laps. I tell you what, the racecraft has very much improved in this championship over the last 12 months, and up the inside, that's going to be a charge forward from Taylor Barnard. I told you he was going to be in full send mode. He gets a little bit compromised on the exit. Can he hold it to the inside? Yes, he can. So nicely, Del Pino runs a little bit deep there. You can see how close that wing is to falling off the MP car, as Inter Fuvazak is going to go wheel to wheel with Boyer behind them, and he holds on to the place for the moment. But Bruno Del Pino in real hot water here, because if that wing parts company, anything could happen at that stage.
Yeah, I don't know what's worse than a double-edged sword, but it's this. You've got drag, you've got no downforce, you're locking up, the tyres are worse, and it's a sprint race. You know, if this was an endurance race, it'd be straight in the pits, get the wing changed. But with a short race, with only 22 minutes to go, you're wondering, do I risk coming in? How much am I going to lose? And really, the best bet here is just to hang on until, hopefully, you know, it stays on till the end of the race and he can keep this train behind. But you can see the train is building. People are going to start getting impatient and pulling off some bold moves.
Great racecraft for Mauri Boyer. He's managed to pop out in front of Taz into Fuvazak and get through up into what is now 9th position, so that's going to give him 2 more points. But of course, the driver who crosses the line in 10th position at the checkered flag will be pole position for race 2 tomorrow morning. So it's crucial that you try and blend in the racecraft. It's not just enough of a tactic to say, oh, I'll just stay in 10th position and get the pole position. You have to read the race very carefully. As round the outside of Barnard! Oh my goodness! That is Mauri Boyer in full send mode himself. Having dealt with Badua and Barnard, now he's going to try and make his beat on Del Pino. See, Del Pino's been holding them up. Mauri Boyer says, right, you've holding us up too much, I'm just going to take you all on. Yeah, and Mauri Boyer makes them all look so slow.
He's seen what's been happening in front and he's decided he needs to take matters into his own hand, and now it's probably going to be a bit of a chain reaction as he's being put off place, off track, on the dust, and it's just going to be a compound effect of these cars coming past now.
So Barnard is the first one to get through. Badua getting out of his way in enough time. Now Brandon Badua is going to be the one to take on Mauri Boyer down to the braking zone, and there comes Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. He wants a taste of this, trying to get through on the inside line. So that is Badua on Del Pino, and Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. is going to go wheel to wheel with him, holding on the far side. Emerson Fittipaldi really working hard here to try and keep that MP Motorsport up at the sharp end of the field, and as they work their way through the apex, he's done it, I think. So no teammates holding each other up. You've got to be very, very cautious and conservative about how much you hold up the team, and obviously they'll have been on the radio to Bruno Come on, don't hold up Emerson. This is not really going to work out for us. Give him the space, give him the opportunity, let him go. And so he does so on the inside line. So Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. gets the move behind them. That is a very fired up Kanato Lee, trying to go round on the far side of Enzo Peugeot, and into the pits comes Del Pino. That was inevitable.
Yeah, I think he's decided he'd had enough. I think he defended well for the first 2 laps of it being there and only got passed by 1 car, but, you know, when it's this many...
Look at the sand on the off line, that's mad.
Yeah, there's just 1 track width at the moment. I mean, yeah, but holding on that long for 2 laps now is just inevitable, like you said. The train is now released, and I think now we're going to see a lot of slipstreaming.
So let's see who's going to take full advantage of it. Looks to me as though we're going to have Costa Taparis be the first beneficiary, the man who did such a fantastic job at Yas Marina last week. The team hadn't scored points all year, Evans GP, and then Taparis decided, right, we need a podium, never mind points, and he managed to get that done in fine style in race 1. Fabulous young talent, Costa Taparis, certainly got a long future in front of him, and looking forward to seeing how he continues in his journey forward. A couple of drivers have been really compromised off this start, none the least of whom has been obviously Bruno Del Pino with the problems he's had, but Bora and Niall are going to be starting race 2 from the back. There is young Gao Yujia, and Gao Yujia, the Chinese driver, looking very hungry to try and get himself into the points. R&B Racing are now the only team in this paddock, never mind in this particular championship, that haven't scored points yet, but not because they're not good enough. They've had a lot of bad luck, and Gao Yujia has actually been very close to points-paying positions in practice, so it could come his way if there's enough badinage around the circuit. But Tuka Tarpanen is absolutely living the life of Riley up front, in front of Zachary David, his teammate. Ugo Chukwu and Rafael Kamara running in 3rd and 4th. In fact, James Wharton is there in 5th to give Mumbai Falcons a nosebleed. They're doing so well up in the top 5. But for Tuka Tarpanen, he's got no pressure. He's got his teammate playing rear gunner behind him, and it looks as though the championship is going to Finland.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what you need. It's the best position to have, to be able to be obviously have the speed to be up front, but then also to be able to have the best person in the world behind you, which is your teammate, and to be able to have radio communication within the team to be able to help that situation. It's ideal. And yeah, 18 minutes to go. And speaking to some of the guys, these cars are physical. We've got a lot of wind today. Tomorrow's forecast, even more wind. Yes, we've got no rain, but these hotter temperatures, high wind, sandy track. You know, these guys are under a lot of physical pressure to be able to do these races in these temperatures.
I want to talk to you a little bit, actually, about the gale force winds here, because it is such a wind trap, this particular circuit. It's almost in a valley, the way that it's positioned here in Motor City. And you've been there in a single-seater when you're on the limit around this particular circuit. When the wind changes direction, what is it actually like? What does it do to the car? It must be like trying to wrestle your way through.
It is. It's like when you're coming down the highway, down the motorway, and you come over a high bridge. Not only do you get that wind hit you, it's like 2 semi-arctic trucks have come past either side of you as well. The wheels moving in your hand, and on top of that, these aren't like road cars. They don't have 2 full locks of nice power-assisted turn. They have loads of caster. Now, what that is it means in your hand, it's like holding 2 20-kilogram weights while you're being strapped in, and nothing can move except your organs and your hands to move this weight in between, and it only goes 90 degrees each way. So when the wind does come, that wind pushes you a hell of a lot more than it would do in a nice soft road car.
Now this is going to be very tough from this moment on for the drivers. We're in 31 degrees Celsius temperatures. There's a big dive up the inside, comes there from Kanato Lee on Enzo Peugeot, and Taparis decides, right, I've had enough of this, and Jesse Carrasquedo is trying to run rings around him. The Mexican going very hungry there on the inside after the hairpin. But from this point on, you know, we haven't had a safety car. The tyres have not had a chance to cool down. 31 degrees Celsius air temperature. Those tyres are going to be absolutely screaming at those drivers. It's not going to be easy now to keep these cars moving to the end of the race.
Yeah, and with how hard these guys are pushing each other easily, they're just certainly not taking it easy. I always find, actually, through that hairpin, you see so many people pushing wide. There, we've got to move right round the outside, but can you hang on through there? No, it seems to be a lot harder with the temperatures we've got with those rear tyres. A lot of these guys, instead of switching, are going sided tyres. So what that means is the outside left tyres get the hardest work around this track. So what a lot of the guys do after qualifying, switch those tyres round. Then the graining that's happened on the left-hand side is now on the opposite side, the unloaded side. So that should help a little bit. But that bowl corner, if it was qualifying with new tyres, you can see an F1-style toe-braking situation going down the main straight.
We've seen it all year long. It's been relentless. The draft here is so punishing. As long as you've got a driver behind you who's gone slow in, fast out to the corner, it is inevitable that they're going to draw level. It all just comes down to how brave the driver at the head of the pack is, how much you want to weave. We've had a few warnings for it over the course of the season. Obviously, when you're 16, 17 years of age and you're desperate for the next Toto Wolff or Fred Vasseur to spot you, then you're going to do anything you possibly can to make sure that you are at the head of the train and you are going to beat your opponents. It is so tough, and you've been in this world. You know, you came through the ranks of Formula Renault and Formula 3. It is the most difficult part of your racing career. On the inside, that is going to be a bold lunge from Brando Badoa. He gets back into the draft there on James Wharton, makes a good move, and Wharton's going to do his best to come back at him. But I think that's pretty much slam dunk as far as the Italian's concerned. He's made that look absolutely perfect. And yeah, this is so tough, and the pressure on these guys is relentless. I've said this time again, Ollie, this is not like the world of football or tennis or cricket, when all that hard work you do in your teens is done behind closed doors. You never see Man United and Valencia's under-21s on telly. It's all behind closed doors. You don't see them till they're ready for the first team. This is so much harder. You're under scrutiny and under pressure from the moment you get into an international kart race, never mind at Formula Regional.
You are. You're watched on every level, and with the amount of data that's involved in this sport as well, like you said, not only the races are seen when you're coming up, your practice sessions are seen. You can literally quantify. You know, you don't go and look at Andy Murray's past and go, how did he do when he practiced that time on a Tuesday afternoon? Here you can go, oh, how did this driver do in Sector 1 on Tuesday the 19th in 2005? You can literally see it. So it's big scrutiny, it's a lot of pressure, and on top of that, it's happening at a younger and younger age. So it is fascinating and incredible at the same time what a lot of these guys can put on their shoulders.
It looked to me as though Badoa was having to get out of the way of a little scrap of paper or a polythene bag or something to try and get out of the way. And that's important as well. I mean, again, you would think it's not really that big a deal, but if that gets into the air ducts, that's an engine that's going to cook.
Yeah, and we've seen it time and time again in the Formula 1 as well, with tear-offs getting trapped in the side pods, in the radiators. These cars, although they're little mini Formula 1 cars, we've got to move there down the inside again. Looks like a fairly clean move.
Yeah, that's nicely done by Edgar Pierre, taking on Yaroslav Veselaho, but he runs wide. And so Veselaho, the Ukrainian, is going to get the run to get back on there. That's very nicely done. It's a bit of an even Stevens battle between these two at the moment.
It is, yeah. Yeah, I said usual commentators curse saying a very clean move just as the plank slammed onto the side of the curb there. Big lockup there increases the gap, unfortunately, makes it even harder.
And that's like a proper punch in the arm when you go over that as well. You feel that for about half a lap.
Oh yeah, I mean, compared to the GT4, GT3 prototypes, maybe less so prototypes, you can kind of ride over those with your cup of tea in your hand without spilling anything, no problem. But in one of these, it certainly hurts.
Up to the inside, trying again. This is going to be Enzo Peugeot now on the inside of Liu Qi. So the Chinese driver so nearly loses the back of the car. That's what happens.
We've seen that move 3-4 times so far this race, and I was waiting for A, that to happen, or B, this, which is the problem is you can force a driver wide coming onto a straight and then keep the position, but if you force a driver wide into a connecting corner without a straight in between, you're both going to get potentially punished by the car that's, you know, 2 cars behind gets both of you.
So Giovanni Mascio gets a really rude awakening there as Liu Qi almost slides into his side pod. Come on, man, what are you doing? Give me a little bit of space. So it was very, very scary for Giovanni Mascio. And in behind him, you've got one of the Evans GP cars. That's got to be John Bennett. So the British driver who's been in GB3 this year. Just gone in 2023, I should say. He'll be hoping for another strong campaign in the 2024 main body of the season. But it's all settling into a nice, neat rhythm. And up front, Tuka Tarpanen is on course to the champion. It's almost happening back closed door. Goodness me, how tight can you get on the run to the first corner as the two duelers, Kanato Lee and Enzo Peugeot, practically trade punches on the way down the straight.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a touch of contact there. I mean, it was beyond close, that. So, yeah, good driving, or should I say good avoidance there.
That was as close to some of the antics that we saw at Catalunya Spanish F4 last year as it's close to get without repeating it. Very close indeed. And Kanato Lee and Enzo Peugeot, who haven't done the whole season, don't forget, both of them joined in last week at Yas Marina, so they're both keen to make an impression with a massive disadvantage compared to everybody else. But fair play to them because they're currently in 11th and 12th. They are just off the points. And I cannot understate how difficult it is as a driver to join a championship mid-season, even if it's only a 6-week campaign, and be on the pace straight away. For Kanato Lee and Enzo Peugeot to be in a 30-car field very nearly and be fighting for 11th when they've only done 3 races prior to this, it tells you how talented they are.
Exactly, and not only just for the lack of experience within that championship, but the lack of knowing what everyone else's racecraft is like. You learn against your competitors. You know where they're weak, you know where they defend, you know where they're strong, and you can use that in your tools in your armory to be able to attack in the right places, so it's even more impressive. But talking about that move again, that defence down the straight, we were looking at the snaking before and the slipstreaming, and obviously you're only allowed one move to one side and then you have to come back to your line, and we see that snake is now only allowed to have that one move. It's interesting, actually, I don't think we talk about it too much. The actual move across the straight to defend really should also be one smooth move all the way across, but we do see a lot of these darting, you know, kind of trying to intimidate the other driver, which you're allowed to do on paper, but I wonder how long that's going to last before that's going to be a new rule as well.
Yeah, you've been around when the changes have been made, and obviously once you've had one limit, one rule has been changed, you kind of have to see, well, what other line can I flirt with? How far can I take this before I'm being slapped on the wrist again? Now, Enzo Peugeot and Kanato Lee are desperate to get into 10th position, not just because it's a points-paying position, but of course, if they can get past Emerson Fittipaldi Jr., then one of those drivers is going to end up on pole position for race 2 tomorrow. So it's critical that Peugeot fends off from Kanato Lee and then has enough tyres to go after Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. He's only a second back from him. And that's the difficulty. You try and put yourself into the right position to go for that top 10 position, but you've spent so long trying to keep the guy behind you at bay that you've essentially killed the tyres in the chance to try and keep up with the guy in front.
It is. There's a lot of strategy involved in that, but that's, again, one of the reasons I love these sprint races, these single-seater races as well, across all these different formulas, is these reverse grid races that we actually had in 2010, our first year, I'm old now, in Formula 3. Just it feels like there's another fight for first place in the grid. I know it's 10th, but it feels like, you know, there's a lot of jeopardy there going on.
And one of the things that I always found really interesting about this campaign as well, you know, I talked to Top Speed about it. There's been a lot of chatter on the social media and on the forums about how the reverse grid race, it has the same points here in this championship as it does for race 1 and 3, and people don't really see how that's fair. But the argument from Top Speed is, well, the race is the same length of time. It's 28 minutes plus 1 lap, same as it is for race 1 and 3. As a driver, how would you respond with that?
Oh, how politically correct do I have to be here?
Well, you're not a driver in the championship. You can say what you want to a certain extent.
I think it should be less points.
You do, fair enough.
I think I understand the point of view of that, and I understand the driver's frustration also. Maybe the simplest form of that is that you do shorten the race ever so slightly and maybe extend one of the third races into... So I said politically correct, now I'm getting myself even more trouble. I'm changing the format completely. So here's what we'll do. 6 race weekends, 6 races per weekend, same entry fee.
Love it. I love it. I knew when I brought you into this booth I was going to have some fun with this race, Ollie, so thank you. I'm so appreciative. Qatar Balloon, just 8 minutes roughly away from becoming the latest Finnish superstar in single-seaters. There's been quite a raft of them over the last few years, and certainly it's been a while since Finland can say we've got a potential world champion on our hands. Kimi Räikkönen, of course, retiring from Formula 1 a couple of seasons ago, and they've been waiting for a new star. We discovered him all the way back in 2019 at Angeville in France, when he suddenly popped up as a complete nobody, and he wiped the floor with everybody in the factory teams at Tony Kart, CRG, Sony Kart and Birolard, which was no mean achievement for an absolute shy, you know, young pretender from a privateer team from Finland to come straight in and show everybody the way home. He's got so much written about him. He's now part of the Ferrari Young Driver Academy. He's going to have a really interesting path to the top, and when you consider the fact that this year he has scored more points in 4 weekends than Andrea Kimi Antonelli did last year in 5, it shows you that he's definitely one for the future. And if people are going to talk about Kimi Antonelli as a potential Formula 1 driver next year, then clearly you've got to have the same similar conversation about young Tuka Tarpinen for 2026. There is Taylor Barnard, the British talent, who is desperately trying to keep the fight alive, but in 8th position. It's just going to slip away from him, but he has said many times, you know, I will go full send, it's my way, it's how I'm going to do it. He's been thrown a lifeline by PHM AIX this year to race in Formula 2. He was confirmed last week as the last driver on the grid, and it's such a feel-good story when everything is about trying to scrape a budget together, when you're desperately trying to find the money to go racing. And PHM AIX said, no, this guy shouldn't be without a drive in Formula 2. He's talented enough, he's good enough. At the end of this race, he'll have secured 2nd place in the championship and have enough points to be a Formula 1 racer. Not a test driver, a racer. So for him to not be in Formula 2 this year, as far as they were concerned, would have been a crime. And as the reserve driver for Neo McLaren in Formula E as well, there's plenty of potential for Taylor Barnard, and he's definitely one to watch out for. So finishing 2nd in such a competitive championship, again, as he did last year, he'll be frustrated, but you've got to see the big game. You've got to see the long term here.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's an amazing way to start your campaign and your year. Obviously, their campaign's already started in the winter here, which is great while we have these races here in the UAE, but to have that on your shoulders, to know you've got the license to race if you ever need to be called up, to be a reserve driver in these high-level championships, it's a confidence booster, and I've experienced when you're on that wave, you can really ride it and use your talent with that.
So still, these battles are becoming a little bit tighter now, and this is the effects of having the tyres start to fall away. Look, Tuukka Tarpanen is just doing what he needs to do. This is what I love about watching him. He doesn't disappear and dominate races. He just drives the car as fast as is needed. You don't overcook the tyres. You don't overcook the brakes. He just keeps it there. He knows that a second and a couple of tenths is all you really need to stay in front of Zachary David. David's going to play rear gunner. The Mumbai Falcons cars don't seem to have the legs to keep this going, especially now that Badua has got past Wharton. It's all square. But look, Tarpanen's probably got the pace in that car to stretch this out by 3-4 seconds, but he doesn't need to. He's under no pressure to, so it's a bit like Niki Lauda, isn't it? You know, it's like, why drive the car faster than you have to?
Yeah, to be able to keep a consistent enough gap that isn't quite, you know, possible to make a huge use of the toe, to be able to deal with that pressure as well, keep it that consistent. I mean, watching it throughout the race, it's been such a consistent gap as well. It's not like the clear 1 or 2 tenths he's got in pocket he's using, like you said, to pull away to have a 4-second lead by the end of the race. Clearly he's trying as hard as he can, but he'll be looking in his mirrors every other straight, keeping calm, making sure he's not overlocking up where he needs to, not pushing the brake zones where he doesn't need to. Right off wide there.
And that is Noah Lyle. He's going to try the weirdest overtake in history. How is he going to make that stick?
From off camera to 3 places ahead or whatever it was. That was that switchback was never going to work with how much sand I thought he was going to have on his tyres.
Well, that's the Aussie way. Noah Lyle putting in such an incredible overtake. I never would have thought that possible. That's worth another look.
Is it like Aussie ping pong where you can play it off on any wall you want?
Yeah, paddle is not really the done thing in motor racing, but that was about as paddle a move as you can get in motor racing, wasn't it? Absolutely incredible. From proper left field. And Noah Lyle not only gets the move done, but it makes it stick and has actually pulled 4 car lengths on Edgar Pierre, who he was battling with there. So excellent performance. That's a move that he's definitely going to bank later and watch that back.
There's another rule we need to look at. If you didn't overtake off track, but you started the overtake 3 miles away from the track, how does that work?
Well, especially considering that Noah Lyle is actually a lap down. He shouldn't really be battling with these guys at all. But hey, it's Noah Lyle. He just does Noah Lyle things. Let's look at it again. He's just come. Look, he's gone from the right side of the 50-meter board. He's being lapped by these guys, and he's going to turn it into an undercut. That is unbelievable.
I wonder if he wanted to move out the way for them and then decided, no, actually, this will be a good move. You can see the camera on me.
Just incredible. Well, I'll tell you what, Noah Lyle's definitely going to pick up a sponsor or 2 from that. That's you call that an overtake? Yes. That's an overtake. That's a proper Aussie move. Excellent work. Right. So these guys are not quite sure what to do with that. They just kind of got to let him go for the moment. Noah Lyle definitely upstaging a lot of the drivers around him. Right, into what could well be the anti-penultimate lap here for Tuukka Tarpanen. In front of Zachary David, the Maltese driver. And then the American star, Uga Uga Chukwu. Fabulous, fantastic battle for the final podium spot. And these 2 teammates will go for it. You've got to remember that in this sport, yes, there is a team's championship, but there's no monetary incentive to win that championship from a team's point. It's not like Formula One. If you win the team's championship, there's no prize money incentive. You're just trying to engineer the cars, do the best job you can, and advertise, you know, we are a top 3 team. You want to come race with us next year. The drivers will push each other. They will go to battle. They're trying to get to Formula One, so they will have no holds barred in the opportunity to go for the move.
Totally. They are in it for themselves. I mean, yes, if there's nothing to gain for one driver and a championship to gain for another, maybe there'll be some kind of team play there. But otherwise, these guys are in it for themselves, and the team have just got to do their best job to be able to put them in that place. And interesting, I love talking about teams doing a good job. 3 laps ago, I didn't actually mention it at the time, but the top 8 cars all did the same lap time of within a tenth of each other.
That's astonishing. Absolutely incredible. If you want to know how close it is between these guys getting to Formula One and not, having that little between that many drivers, it shows you that, yes, it is talent, yes, it is money, but it's a lot of luck as well.
Yeah, you've got to have all of those factors. I mean, you've certainly got to have at least 2 or 3 of them, and one of those 2 has always got to be the skill. If you don't have the connections with the teams, then you've got to be able to have the funding to be able to get the connections with the team. You don't have the funding, you need to speak to as many people as you can to be able to get that opportunity to show your talent. The great thing is now, which I love with these super license points, is the underlying thing will always be that you still need the talent. You cannot anymore just simply pay your way in. You need the talent, you need the connections, you need to be able to have got the results, and then if you've got some funding behind you as well, even better.
And you can see it works, because in Formula One these days, the whole grid in most of the sessions are covered by a second and a half, so it shows you that the talent is what is still king. 13, 12 seconds, 11 seconds left on the timer, so this is the penultimate lap, whatever happens. And Ogachukwu and Kamara are still dueling for this third position. They're trading radiuses at the moment, because in terms of sector times, they're pretty much even. Ogachukwu's last third sector was at 32.7, Kamara at 32.5, so he is getting a little bit more out of this tyre, certainly towards the end of the lap than Ogachukwu is. So the American in third position now has to essentially force himself into a position where he's got to push harder and go for second place. You don't want to let your teammate get close enough to you. It's a different dynamic at the moment. Zachary David being in second place is perfect for Race GP, because even if they don't finish 1-2, the key is that the man in front is going to be the champion. But in third and fourth position, these two have nothing to lose now. They know they're not going to be champion, so they may as well just hunt down that final podium place. And Kamara, don't forget, in fourth position, is trying to secure third in the Drivers' Championship. So it will be key for him to get that position away from Ogachukwu. Badura in fifth, Wharton in P6, then Boyer. But look how much it has spread out over the time. Barnard again in 8th position. He was talking about how difficult it is to get this car switched on, and yet again he has fallen away to 6 seconds back from Marty Boyer alone.
Yeah, and that fight also all the way through the grid, that fight for pole position on reverse grid with Fittipaldi and Peugeot has actually switched now. So now we've got behind in 11th place.
Who's that now? Lee now.
Yeah, so now that went from 6/10 at its closest behind Fittipaldi with Peugeot, but he's now fallen down to 12 and a second off 11th himself. So I think 2 seconds in hand for Fittipaldi with a lap and a half to go. He should be pretty comfortable there.
And that will be such a deserved result for Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. He's had 4 weekends from hell, to put it very bluntly. Nowhere near pace, nowhere near what we saw from him in the European Championship last year. All sorts of problems, from brake issue to fuel pressure to engine misfires. And now he has finally got a car that's worthy of his talents for this final round. We're in the last lap, and this is what we've been waiting for. Everybody in Finland is getting ready. They have been patient for quite a long time. At the first race of the year, when Tuukka Taponen was a rookie, nobody quite knew what to expect from him. We've already seen some amazing performances from rookie in Formula Regional. Last year, of course, is what you have to talk about. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, who everybody has been speaking about endlessly for the last 18 months, and now even more so as a potential replacement at Mercedes F1 to Lewis Hamilton next year. This man has got to be the next man on everybody's lips. The young Finn, Tuukka Taponen, could well be on the path to emulating the likes of Keke Rosberg, Mika Hakkinen, Kimi Räikkönen. He is absolutely the next flying Finn, and the Tiger is ready to take this title.
Yeah, he's doing an unbelievable job, and actually that gap's been 1.3 seconds to second place pretty much the whole race, and all of a sudden he's opened up the tap on the last lap and decided, I'm just going to use up whatever tyre I've got left now.
Yeah, that's the Tiger's way. He wins it in his own style, and it's incredible to think, you know, his 3 previous race wins were all at Yas Marina. He hadn't won a race at Dubai until this particular point. He's been very patient, very consolidating. He's been able to score podiums when he can, and I've said this time and time again, in motor racing, it's not just about how many races you win, it's what you do when you don't win. If you can get those seconds, those thirds, those fourths, those fifths, that's how you win a championship. And the Tiger is coming home to finish off in fantastic style. Get ready all across Finland. This is your boy. He has been working so hard over the last couple of seasons to show the world what he can do. He missed out on the F4 UAE Championship last year by 1 race. He won't miss out today. Before we even get to Sunday, he will be the champion. Tuukka Taponen wins race 1 in Dubai. He is the 2024 Formula Regional Middle East champion. Finland, get ready for the next F1 superstar. You're looking at him.
Wow, what an incredible job. I mean, just to be able to do that with a race, I cannot imagine how fun the race is going to be tomorrow when you're in that situation.
Such a superstar effort from Tuukka Taponen right from the first race of the year. He has never driven over his own limit. He has only done what he can do. He spent the first weekend in Yas Marina learning, figuring out where his pace was. by the second weekend at Yas Marina, the wins started coming. And from then on, it was just about playing the percentages. Where can you score a podium? Where can you score points? And he has absolutely smashed this championship. His 4th win of the season. So difficult to rack up a decent, solid run of victories in this championship when it's so competitive. The Ferrari Young Driver Academy took him on at the beginning of last year. Now we know why. Jock Clear is in the paddock this weekend. I think it's a done deal that we're going to see this boy in Formula One someday, maybe even as early as 2026. It's not out of the raft of possibility, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer young lad. I've been watching him now for the last 5 years, through his karting days, through his Formula 4 journey, and now in Formula Regional. It's something to win as a rookie, but to win Formula Regional as a rookie, that takes some doing.
Yeah, that is a competitive grid, a physical car, and a physical track in some tough temperatures today. So to be able to get 4 wins in a championship like this, with not only the depth of, not only with the talent at the front, but the depth of talent all the way through, it's going to be incredible. And sometimes you look back at your CV, whatever he ends up in one day, and he'll probably look back at this very championship with those very wins and see the people that were on this grid that also will go up with him and look back on this with fond memories.
Ollie Webb, I know this has been incredibly last minute, but thank you so much for stepping into the box. I hope you've had as much fun as we all have. Oh, hang on. That's not right. That's a very badly broken rear wing. That's Wang Shongwei. So what has happened on the slowing down lap, by the look of it?
It must have been on the in lap, on the slowing down lap, because we would have seen it if it was on the last lap. And that's some yellow contact on the outside of the tyre. Is that a wall? Was maybe potentially avoiding a slow car celebrating? I've seen weirder things. I've seen people lock up across the start lines to celebrate, or maybe going offline to pick up marbles and maybe looking down, speaking on the radio. Hopefully something innocent like that. I mean, he wasn't involved in any crazy overtakes towards the end there, was he?
No, indeed. And you wouldn't really expect that of someone like Wang Shongwei. Okay, he's not the spring chicken of the paddock, but he's had a lot of experience in Asian GTs. He's the front man of R&B racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Asia, so it's not exactly as if he's without talent. So, yeah, very bizarre, very strange end to the race there. But for everybody back home in Finland, this is what they've been waiting for. Tukka Tapanen is your winner. Zachary David, his 4th podium of the year. Uga Chukwu takes his 3rd, I do believe. Rafael Kamara in 4th place. Brandon Badua in front of James Wharton and Mari Boyer. Taylor Barnard, so close, but he will still have a great year in 2024, no doubt. Tazin the Vivazak will start on the front row of the grid, but Emerson Fittipaldi Jr. finally will get a pole position for race 2. Kanato Lee so close to it. Enzo Peugeot, a great drive. Kadashkedo in front of Taparis, Abkasava and Garfias. Then Luduki, John Bennett, Giovanni Mascio and Goa Yujiya. 21st in position was Isaac Barashi in front of Azalajo, Pierre, Wang, Finley Green, Bruno Del Pino, Noah Lyle, and then the retirements, Nigel Bora and Teofil Nile. You've done it! Listen to the cheer in pit lane. This is just the first championship title in cars of many. Tukka Tapanen, this is where the legacy begins. All over Finland, they will be writing article after article. Get ready. If you thought Rosberg, Hakkinen and Raikkonen were good, this boy could even eclipse them all.
Unbelievable, yeah, to have that much support down there as well. I mean, look at them all with the boards all printed out, the Ferrari shirts waiting for you. Oh, I mean, it's just, it's a little boy's dream, isn't it?
Good drive from Uga Chukwu, the man who is about 6'7", He's an absolutely terrific racer, and I really hope they get a single-seater that can fit him as he climbs up through the ranks of Formula One and IndyCar. He's going to have to stop growing eventually, but he's doing a fine job with what he's got, and it's his maturity, it's his discipline that makes him such a great fit for McLaren.
Yeah, luckily these cars, these single-seaters and race cars these days are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I can testify to that from racing some of the older stuff and wondering how the hell they got in that. But yeah, he's going to be fitting in some single-seaters, no problem.
Well, really exciting race there, and yet again, a green to checkered without the intervention of the safety car. Proof that Formula Regional is getting better and better in terms of racecraft. There you are, rookie champion, proper champion. And that is absolute champion for Tukka Tapanen. He'll be delighted with that. And everybody in Finland who is a motor racing fan will now be talking about him in the same shades as Hakkinen and Raikkonen. They were amazing in their junior careers too. He's not even going to be able to get to the podium at this rate. And Race GP, of course, seals the team's championship at the same time. Saturday night is all right for fighting for Tukka Tapanen. He's done. He doesn't need to fight anymore. The fight is over. He is the new champion of Formula Regional Middle East, and rightly so. Oliver Webb, thank you so much for being with me for this. It's been such a dream to have you in the box for this moment. And when he's in Formula One 5 years from now at Monaco, you can say, I was there. Exactly, I was there when he got the job done.
I'm glad you saw me on the grid. No, thanks very much for having me. And yeah, learning a few of these guys' names. Obviously, know only just a few of them. So it was fun to come and commentate on it. So thanks for having me.
You'll be straight off to the bookies to put a fiver on him being world champion in 10 years. That'll sort out your conservatory. Well done. So a fantastic performance from Tuukka Tarponen. The podium is coming up, but we have a new champion here in Dubai. His name, Tuukka Tarponen. Get used to hearing that name. You'll be hearing it a lot. The fairy tale starts here, folks. Absolutely incredible to see how the battle has taken us all the way to the last weekend here at Dubai Autodrome. We may have 2 races to go, but there is a champion that has now been crowned here at Dubai Autodrome, and he's going to get to do it in the best possible fashion, celebrating on the podium at Dubai Autodrome. So let's bring out the podium ceremony for the 2024 Formula Regional Middle East Championship, certified by FIA. Round 5, race 1. In 3rd position for the United States of America, Ugo Ugachukwu. A great run for the Mumbai Falcon and the McLaren Junior. Excellent work for him in fine style. In 2nd position for Malta, Zachary David. And he carries the Race GP Team Champion board to the podium. Very deserving, but your race winner and your new champion for Finland, Tuukka Tarponen! This is a proper celebration, and this party could go on long into the night, even though we've got 2 races to go tomorrow. It is my honor to invite Fang Yuan from Top Speed to present the trophies for our drivers on the podium ceremony. First of all, for the United States of America and the Mumbai Falcons, Ugo Ugachukwu. And in 2nd position for Malta and Race GP, Zachary David. And to our race winner for Finland and Race GP, he also gets the Rookie Cup, ladies and gentlemen, the conqueror of all, Tuukka Tarponen! What a celebration. He's going to have so many trophies to take back to Finland. He won't even fit them in his luggage. Absolutely amazing. And so now the drivers will get together on the podium for the team photograph of the podium ceremony. Absolutely wonderful, ladies and gentlemen. the anti-penultimate race of the year, and it's a terrific podium. Uga Uga Chukwu, Zachary David, and your race winner and new Formula Regional Middle East champion, Tukka Tapponen! I've got a feeling this is going to be a very busy celebration on the podium. Fang Yuan, you might want to get out of the way because they're going to party in style here, Race GP style. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, here at Dubai Autodrome for the new champion of 2024 to get busy with a fizzy. Excellent work. 2 races still to go tomorrow, of course, but for Tukka Tapponen, it's plain sailing. He can enjoy Sunday in the knowledge that nobody can take it from him anymore. Rookie champion, teams champion for Race GP, and the new Formula Regional Middle East champion for Finland, Tukka Tapponen. We cannot wait to see how things will play out tomorrow. It's going to be a very exciting final 2 races of the season. Join us again for more great action from F4 UAE and from Formula Regional Middle East. We still have an epic showdown in F4 UAE to come tomorrow with 3 or 4 drivers still questing for the title. But at least the Finns back home can rest easy tonight. Tukka Tapponen is the king of the hill in Formula Regional. Join us tomorrow.